guys, it's Nikki. This is the first segment for my July reading challenge. For those of you that watched it in both my TBR and my June vlog challenge, you guys will know what books I'm reading, but I will just go over them quickly in case anybody else is not up to it. I've taken off the sleeve, but the first book here is Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. Given that it is not July 1st, it is a week into July. I have actually started reading this one already. It's very similar to a lot of other Sophie Kinsella's books. You have a very upbeat, kind of almost manic inner monologue of the character that you follow. This character, specifically Audrey, had an incident at school, and while I think I know what happened, I'm sure they'll go over it in detail more towards the end of the book. I'm about 3/4 of the way through here. And she is now, since this incident, been dealing with social anxiety, generalized anxiety, depression. She has a lot of mental health issues going on, and this book is following her kind of working through them. I'll give you a few first impressions here. I want to murder her mother. She should never have had children, and the dad makes me angry, but the kids are all great. Sophie Kinsella did a really good job writing the 4-year-old, writing the teenager, writing Audrey so far, and I love the therapist who you meet, and overall I'm enjoying it, but I'm getting to the point where something bad's gonna happen, and I'm not quite sure if I can take it because Audrey's been doing good, but I'm starting to get angry at her. Next is The 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna. I have not started my physical copy of this one yet, but I have started an audiobook and I'm listening to it at work. I think I'm about 20% of the way through. This book is going over kind of a family history. This great niece of this woman of Stella Fortuna is getting the story of Stella Fortuna, what her life was like, how she had basically almost died 7 or 8 times, what these events were, what she was like, and what her life was in that way. It's just really interesting. It's starting in Italy, and slowly the main character is going to emigrate to the USA, and I'm enjoying it so far. It's definitely more of literary fiction. For some reason, I thought there was a fantasy element to it when I first picked it up, and as far as I can tell, there is not. Next, the next two I haven't started yet. That is Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow by Yuval Noah Harari. No, I have not read Sapiens. Yes, I intend to read Sapiens, but this is the one I have on my shelf. This one I probably got the farthest into out of all of them because the intro was about 70 pages and I got through about 50. This one is very dense. It's nonfiction. It is summarizing in this first section where humanity has been, and the rest of the book will be focusing on where humanity will be going. I'm very excited to pick that one up. Sapiens was just everybody I know that's read it says it's blown their minds and they've really enjoyed it. So I'm really, really excited to see where this goes, and I've really enjoyed what I've read so far. And then finally, the other one I haven't started is Tess of the Road. I did put this one on hold at my library for the audiobook. It had about a 2-week hold period, so I'm hoping I'll be getting it in the next few days here. Otherwise, I will just start picking it up and reading the physical copy, and then also doing the audiobook at work to get through it a little bit quicker. And that is some kind of a refresher for what books I'm reading this month for my challenge, and then my initial thoughts on them so far. I will see you guys in the next clip. Hey guys, just checking in. Sorry if this sounds weird. I'm just trying to fit this in between a few things. So to update you, I have now finished The 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna. Since I talked to you last, I believe I also finished off Finding Audrey, although I had very little of that left. 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna I listened to at work. And I have started Tess of the Road. I'm about halfway through, and I've continued on with Homo Deus. And that one, I've probably only read another 30 pages. It's a lot denser. I don't know why I thought I'd finish it for this vlog. I am not thinking I'm going to finish it anymore, but we'll see. My next few weeks aren't as busy as some of my previous weeks have been, but we'll just have to see. I have a lot of reading to do in the next couple weeks, and that's all I really got for you. I can't really do anything outside because of the disgusting heat waves, so, reading inside is my only option. And with that, I will just leave you here and see you in the next clip. Hey guys, checking in with you again. I realized yesterday I didn't really rush and didn't tell you anything about the books I read. So I finished Finding Audrey, and I'm still not 100% sure how I feel about it. There were some things I think were pretty well presented, and then other things weren't. There was a really rough case of insta-love, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So I don't have an actual rating for it yet. But I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favorite. The other book I finished was The 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna. And that one was historical fiction, not fantasy, like I had previously thought when I picked it up. I don't know where I got that from, guys. Rereading the synopsis, I have no clue where that came from. I was just delusional. And then I am currently reading Tess of the Road. I don't have any of these books on hand. They're all in my office, and I'm in my living room. And Tess of the Road, I'm about just over halfway through. I don't know quite how I feel about it. They have a really conservative, strict, patriarchal religion that is the basis of their government and moral and social lives. So I'm struggling a little bit with that just because of how strict it is. And I'm not a huge fan of Tess, who's the main character that we're following here. I understand, she's had some really serious traumas in the past. She's had some really serious traumas in the last few years. So I understand that that's contributing a lot to it. But she is very hard to read, I'm finding. And then the fourth and final book for the vlog was that Homo Deus, the nonfiction book. I'm still really enjoying it, but it's really dense. I'm not getting it through it nearly as fast as any of the other things. So as I mentioned yesterday, I don't think I'm actually going to finish it. I can always hope, but I don't read that fast. But I'm really enjoying it. It's going over still kind of possibilities of directions for humanity to take. And I haven't gotten really too much farther. I'm still kind of in that last bit of the preface. And with that, I will leave you guys here, and I will talk to you in my next check-in. Sorry that the angle here has been really terrible. My arm, for some reason, is super tired, and my shoulder just isn't keeping my arm up really well. So it's probably really shitty footage. Peace. Hey guys, just checking in here with you. This is going to be kind of my last check-in clip before I do my final summary of my July reading challenge. So, as I think I explained to you a couple days ago in the clip, still reading Homo Deus. I don't think I'm going to finish it, but I'll see how many more pages I can get through before the end of the challenge, which is 3 or 4 days from now. And I'm just going to do a quick review here. Finished Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella, which I already told you. I read The 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna as well. I did this one largely as a audiobook at work because it was available in the right time, which thank goodness, because I was dumb and I picked some heckin' chonkers for books, even though I was super excited about the premises. That one caught me by surprise. For some reason, I thought there was a fantasy element or a magical realism element in there, and there 100% was not. 100%. That leads me to Tess of the Road. I was about halfway through last time I talked to you. It is a YA read, so it was a bit quicker to move through, which was really nice. However, so I have since finished it. I pumped out the last 150, 200 pages or whatever it was. And I'm surprisingly kind of disappointed with it. There's a lot of things going on. I was behind the main character Tess in the beginning and what I thought this journey was going to bring her. It ended up not quite going that way. but the author did a really good job by taking some really hard topics and like including them in the main character and kind of exploring the different stages of like grief and denial and healing from trauma. While that was all very interesting, by the time I hit about the midpoint of the book, I was really, really struggling with Tess, who is our main character. And I guess at one point I kind of hoped the story was going to go in a slightly different direction, and it didn't. And I'm really going to have to think about this one. I ended up I don't know if it's just that my expectations were too high or what, but I ended up being very disappointed in my read of this. And it's not that I hated it, it wasn't what I was hoping for. And so that's kind of all I have to update you guys on. I will let you know when I do my final wrap up, kind of the scores. I will summarize everything again and go from there. All right, I will see you guys in the next clip. Peace. Hey guys, it is wrap up time. So this month was probably my least successful reading challenge. I wouldn't even say I failed. I just set the bar way too goddamn high. So I'm gonna talk briefly about the books, and then the ones I finished, I'll give you my rating. So I'll start with Homo Deus. I didn't finish this one within the challenge time frame. It was frankly too dense. I'm on the cusp of a reading slump, and as much as I was enjoying it, it wasn't like hitting the spot. I'm definitely gonna come back to it, but I just wasn't able to get it done in time, as I think I mentioned in basically every clip after the first book. Next, I'll go to the third book I read, and that is Tess of the Road. I was really torn about this book because it has a lot of things I really love. It's a female who's bucking the patriarchy. She's striking out on her own road, quite literally in this case. It has elements of fantasy. It has a very specific government and religion and social structure, which are always fun to go through. However, I really struggled with Tess as a main character here. I struggled with the direction of the story a little bit and the route she takes and how she kind of comes to terms with some of the trauma that she suffered from. And this being said, I'm not necessarily someone who's ever suffered from similar trauma, so I can't necessarily say that I completely understand everything she's going through. The author does a really good job presenting it to the reader, and you do feel really bad for Tess and how she kind of got to where she is. That being said, the overall story just fell really short for me. I had a really hard time with this book. My gut reaction for this book was to give it like a 2.5, like just right down the middle and go with it. However, after everything's said and done and I kind of weigh my likes and dislikes here, I'm leaning more towards a 3. When I update my Goodreads, I'll kind of explain a little bit more, because like it's somewhere kind of like a 2.75 really for me. But I'm just gonna round up to the 3 since it's so close. And there's so much here that I think would hit with the right audience, and it was just a big miss for me. And I feel very bad because I think that this wasn't a poorly written book. I just really struggled with the story. Next, I'll do the second book I finished, which is The 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna. I've had this on my shelf for a couple years, and I read the preface for the story in the physical book, but I also got an audiobook copy from my local library, which really helped me get through this. I listened to it at work and got through it in a couple of days. And this is historical fiction. It is the life of a woman who is an immigrant from Italy with her family. And the story follows her kind of growing up in the Calabrese areas of Italy and then moving into, I think they end up being like Connecticut or something like that. It's called Hartford. And it's just, the story of this woman's life is by turns completely tragic, completely frustrating, and completely heartbreaking. I don't really want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but Stella Fortuna was a really interesting woman. And I would have loved to see how her life played out had things gone differently. This book is going to stick with me for a very long time. This book for me was a 4 out of 5. One of the most different but still impactful historical fiction books that I've ever read. And then finally, we will end off with Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. This book, I haven't even really thought about it since I finished reading it, which is, I feel so bad about. There was a lot of stuff in here that I felt was represented really well, but there were other things that I really struggled with. Audrey as a main character is very similar to a lot of Sophie Kinsella's other main characters, but with different flavors of anxiety and depression coloring her character. I hated the insta-love. I absolutely hated it. And I liked the 4-year-old, I liked the main character, and I liked the brother. There is a huge insta-love. There was a huge insta-love plot line here, and I have to be honest, that completely ruined the story for me. Initially, I was like, oh, maybe it's just like two people struggling with mental illnesses will kind of help ground each other. No, it is a girl with mental illness who falls in love with a boy, and then over the process of their relationship, she somehow figures it all out. That's really not doing the story justice, but that's kind of how I feel like summarizing it, because it started off strong, and I was just very disappointed by the end, and it went from a very high rated book down to a 3. The only thing that I really felt was 100% in this book's favor the entire time was the pacing. And with that, I am wrapping up July's reading vlog challenge here. Thanks for tuning in with me while I read these books. I feel like I haven't been super successful the last couple months with the books I'm reading, but I'm hoping to turn that around next month and get maybe a couple of 5-star books out of them. And with that, I will leave you guys here, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.